Yes! Yes! He said it! He said it! He said it! Hey everyone, my name is Meet Kevin and I am a minimalist landlord. Today, I am going to react to an extravagant landlord, mostly because I have had so many requests to respond to this particular video that, well, I'ma do it. So I'm obviously going to link this video down below, but this video is by Matt Reisinger of The Build Show, and the title of the video is, I'm building a house, but there's a house in the way, which I will say seems quite appropriate given what we've seen in past videos. Now, just in case you have not yet seen the other videos, let me give you a quick little catch up. Matt Reisinger is a higher end, probably very high end building contractor who generally remodels properties north of $1 million. So dealing with a pretty high-end clientele, and I know he does great work, at least based on what I can tell from his videos and having been a licensed contractor in the past. But now I'm a minimalist real estate investor, and when I saw that he was going to do what he called an average, everyday American remodel in a 1970s neighborhood, where he bought a house for somewhere around the mid-400s in a neighborhood where properties are, well, going for somewhere around the mid-400s, maybe to $500,000, I thought, okay, well, this would be an interesting remodel to follow and comment on. Now, unfortunately, in my first reaction videos, I started noticing Matt going into this direction of anytime there was an opportunity to spend more money, he took the opportunity to spend more money. Which, initially you might think, well, maybe that's because that's the right thing to do. Maybe there's mold and he's deciding to spend money on remediating mold that he found. Well, that is the correct thing to do, and that is correct. That is what you should do. That is what I do as well. But when you remodel a kitchen because there's mold in it, you don't raise the ceiling at the same time, because that's not being a minimalist landlord. That's being an extravagant landlord. Now, I have not yet seen this video, so we'll have some raw reactions to it. Let's get started. And as always, check the links down below for my awesome real estate courses, and don't sue me, bro.
Welcome back to the Real Remodel Project. This is my 1970s house that we're showing how to do a whole house remodel. And if you've been watching this series, things have grown quite a bit.
Yeah, they have.
Analogy for you. Have you ever been to the doctor and you go and the first thing they say is take all your clothes off and put this robe on? Why are they doing that? They want to take a look at your body to make sure that you don't have a mole on your back that's cancerous or some other issue. And that's basically what we have here. We have de-skinned the whole house.
Hold it right there, okay? If you are interested in being a minimalist landlord or making money from investing in real estate, don't de-skin every property you buy. Now, this is Austin. Austin is a lot more moist than other parts of the country. And we know from prior videos that I have reacted to as well that this property has not only mildew, but a lot of rodent issues. So there are times you wanna skin the house and basically take it to the studs. The cool thing about real estate, though, is real estate is really good at leaving breadcrumbs for you, leaving clues for you to know when it's time to take it down. So, in other words, the nice thing about real estate is, let's say you had a mole right here, it usually starts kind of leaking through your t-shirt. You don't have to rip all the clothing off the house to find out that, oh, there could be some issues here. I think that's a big distinction between a slumlord who doesn't do anything, a minimalist investor who solves problems when there are problems, and then maybe somebody that wants to do a little bit more of an extravagant kind of remodel in a neighborhood that doesn't justify it. But let's just continue on here.
This is ridiculous. Look at this porthole window on the front and how this was installed. There's basically no flashing or air sealing details on this.
The problem is, this is a 1970s neighborhood. You could go into this neighborhood and realize there's not going to be solid flashing around every single window. There won't be proper air sealing because those standards didn't exist then. And I'm all for proper air sealing. In fact, in California now, they build houses so air sealed that you actually have to, this is just brand new construction, like minimum builder code, you have to introduce fresh air from the outside by putting in vents next to the return registers upstairs or wherever, and you're now sucking in fresh air from the outside because houses are built so darn air sealed. I'm all for that, but it doesn't usually make sense to go into a 1970s neighborhood, seal everything up perfectly, because you're not going to be able to A, sell the house for more, or B, rent the house for more. It's a nice bonus. Yeah, it'll probably increase comfort, but honestly, your dollars would go a lot further putting in a stronger or second air conditioner than doing a complete teardown and rebuild, essentially. But let's see what else we have coming to us in today's episode, because I know there was an architect involved, and I'm interested to see where this is going.
Well, no. This is how houses are being built by some builders in the nation. This is not...
Yeah, and that's a problem. Like, I agree with Matt. This is one of the reasons I like watching Matt. Like, he's right. I mean, people shouldn't build houses like that today.
Look at all this damage right here. I mean, basically the...
I'm pretty sure this is where there was a bunch of visible evidence of water leakage or damage to that brick there. In fact, let's pull it up.
Is areas that are showing some green, some
That's
moss,
the other...
some dark
There it is.
because that's always a bellwether for problems.
He's so right. It's funny. He actually said it back then. It's always a bellwether for problems. Exactly. That's why I love about real estate so much, is it gives you these signals. It gives you these clues that, all right, we're going to have to pay special attention to this. I mean, frankly, seeing stuff like this makes me feel better about buying real estate, because the last thing I would want is no evidence of any kind of water issues. Then you skin the house and you see that. That'd be freaking scary. Then it'd be like, oh my gosh, skin every house you buy. But this is actually good. There were red flags, and sure enough, this is what we find underneath, especially in, again, the more moist area of Austin. So far, this is good. I like this episode so far. We'll see how this devolves, because usually I end up getting a little triggered by the end of these. Obviously, and we said this in the first video, the mold that's here, and I remember there being mold in the furnace closet. Obviously, this stuff should be dealt with by any investor. And always start by dealing with the source of the water intrusion, then solve the damage. That's good.
Now this is kind of cool. When you first walk in, you've got a utility room. And it took me a second to realize, as we were actually did the sheetrock removal with my kids, why are the studs painted white here? Well, what
those are primed.
What happened was there was some kind of a leak or a backup, and some service company was called. And as part of the remediation, they were worried about some mold growth in the studs, so they painted it with this white paint, which actually seems like it's done a good job. I don't see any blackness on the back of the sheetrock here that they'd painted. I don't see anything on the studs. It looks, for the most part, pretty good. But look at the thermoply that's back there, which is this cardboard sheathing. It's in terrible shape. We had some holes in there. There's holes that were not sealed at all from this Freon line coming from the upstairs. Look at how rickety it is. Think that was doing any structural duties after a couple years. One good wind in this house could have knocked over. All right, now
what? Come on, Matt. Oh, come on. Like, look, I hate to say it, but that sounds very like typical contractor, right? Like, no, well, you know, you want it to be perfect because you don't want a strong hurricane or a wind to come and this whole house is gonna blow down. Come on, it's obviously an exaggeration, but I mean, part of me thinks he didn't say that in an exaggerating way. And I try to read like psychology and you know, try not to be jaded, but the way he said that, it kind of sounds like he believes it. I mean, I don't believe that he believes it, but the way he said it made me feel like he believes it. This is kind of like a weird, twisted kind of circle, but I don't know. Okay, we'll just keep watching.
But when you look up in the water heater closet, I didn't take any sheetrock out. That's the way it looked. There was no sheetrock, which means that that water heater closet was basically connected to the outside. And if you saw my earlier videos, we had massive air leak numbers in this house. I bet my previous homeowner had a hard time keeping the house cold. Now check out this. This is the back of
See, I mean, that's unfortunately, like, I hate to say it, but that's where, I mean, it's a perfect way to sell, right? You take a poor innocent homeowner through a house and you go, oh look, the Freon line's not sealed. Oh look, there's a hole right here by the water heater. It's gonna be hard to cool this house. Let's strip it. Usually, I mean, if it weren't for like all the mildew and all the rat turds, usually what people do is they put the drywall back by the water heater. They seal the Freon line on the outside. They seal the protrusions around the property. And they get the property to not a level of perfection, but of not damaged, not broken. You know, back to a good quality level. And then guess what? If it's a rental property and the tenant has to run the AC a little bit more, it's on them. Hint, hint. Now, I know that might sound extreme. You might be thinking, well, I mean, tenants are gonna have to pay higher utility bills and then they'd be more likely to go rent another property. But wait a minute, remember, all of the houses in this neighborhood haven't been Matt Reisingered. That means they all have the same comfort levels. So solve the damage, put it back together, get it rented. This is a little extreme. Now again, I'm okay with the stripping because there's been a lot of water damage on this property and a lot of rats, but there's definitely a little bit of hyperbole here.
You see, we got 2 copper pipes in here, and there's all this weird stippling on the drywall. And when I first saw
Seen this before, more rats.
But no, look at...
In case you don't know, I own real estate. I'm a real estate investor and a broker. I'm 27 and I own just over $6 million of real estate. And I teach people how to invest in real estate and how to make money from real estate in my courses linked below.
And you can see this is the return side, and they basically just cut a big hole in on this side to return the air back into the furnace. And then it blew up, and then here was a...
I mean, I hate to say it, but that is pretty common for that time. Again, bad that there's mold, deal with the mold, but that is pretty typical for a furnace. And that furnace in that closet is actually not that old. That furnace looks pretty decent. It's just unfortunate there's so much mold around it.
Interesting to see they had trusses back then from the late 70s. These are kind of a early truss design where you've got some metal and we've got about a 10 or 12 inch depth. I'm actually probably going to keep those where they work, but we're going to extend.
Well, yeah, why would you take them down? They look fine. They're beautiful. There are gas lines over there. It's
the floor on the upstairs out a little bit. We're
Wait,
also going to
what?
have to work on this concrete step as the plans change. And then in this room,
oh my gosh, don't tell me you're going to try to flatten it out. Oh my gosh, no.
I guess I haven't talked a whole lot about the plan change, but Kit Johnson, my architect's done a great job of really opening up the space. This stairway.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This is like a 12-month remodel. Are you kidding me on a rental? What? You know what? Okay, looking at this floor plan, to me, I think we've got a case of Matt wanting a new beautiful house to live in that is a rental property for the purposes of YouTube and the, well, I won't speculate. It'll just conveniently happen to change intents. Because wow, I mean, this is like, if I wanted a long-term living house, this is what I would do. I would remodel it, but as a rental property, my goodness, geez, good Lord. This is a lot of work.
Okay, so the stairwell is going to go away. The kitchen, the dining room, which was going to be this space now, and this family room are going to be totally opened up and exposed to each other. That's going to be fantastic. I love what Kit did with that. Now this presents a problem for me though. Look, I've got this vaulted ceiling in this space.
I mean, don't get me wrong, this place is going to look amazing, but it ain't going to be profitable.
You'll notice that the original house actually stopped right here. See this line in the concrete right here?
I hope Matt checked to see if it was permitted, but I mean, I always recommend checking for permits, but I guess it doesn't matter since he's probably gonna re-engineer all this stuff anyway. Who cares if it was permitted or not? Yeah.
This is a crack because this is the slab that I'm standing on that's original, and this slab over here was poured later. And then you also notice this header was added. And then this framing over here is traditional framing. This isn't trusses, so this is newer lumber. I'm not sure when this was done. Maybe in
Looks
the
good.
80s or
Move on.
90s. There's a pitch change on the roof. And so by extending out this family room back this direction, I'm going to have to basically end up ripping up a bunch of these trusses.
Ah! What? What? No, why? Don't extend the family room. Why would you do that? It's fine. You've taken it to the studs, remove the mold, slap it back together. You could do a quality job on putting it back together. Don't think I'm saying go low quality because I use the adjective slap. No. Like, put it back together, do a good job. But wait, why? Why do you have to add on square footage now? How much more rent are you gonna get? Zero.
Turning this into hand-cut framing, which gives me an opportunity though. It means that I can change the way the insulation runs on this house.
Do not tell me you are justifying adding on square footage to change the way the insulation is installed. I can spray foam the crap out of it the way it is right now. I can use the highest quality stuff I can find the way it is. Oh my gosh. I cannot believe we are about to justify an addition within... Just say you want it, okay? You want the added square footage because you want a project. I would respect that.
You know, traditionally insulated houses where you have drywall as your air barrier and then everything goes on top, they work pretty well. And you may have seen my buddy Jake Bruton do that. But the problem is in Texas where we're slab on grade, I don't have any space in my basement for my mechanicals. My mechanicals have to be worked into that design. So in this case, I'm going to actually reframe this attic with more traditional framing so that I can open it up. And I'm also, here's the big deal, going to change the way the insulation works on this house. We're going to take the insulation out to the outside envelope. We're going to use exterior insulation on the walls, and we're going to use some zip system sheathing to really...
I get it. We've heard it. Like, if anybody has watched a single Matt Reisinger video, we all know everything's got to be in a conditioned space. We got to have the ducts in a conditioned space because it doesn't make sense that in America, why is it that we have ducts going through 100-degree air in the attic? We've all heard it before. But oh my gosh, I cannot believe you are going to remove all of those beautiful trusses to create your conditioned space for rental. Woo, okay, all right, cool. You'll have a higher ceiling. You can hang a more expensive chandelier from it, I guess. Whatever.
It'll be up at the roof deck, which means that my attic now won't be a hot attic. It'll be conditioned. It'll be basically the same temperature as the rest of the house, maybe a couple degrees hotter.
You know who's really gonna win on this house? The person who buys this house. Because let me put it this way. If you have the entire neighborhood of, let's say, 200 houses, and this house ends up being worth $550,000, because guess what? All of the neighboring houses are selling for $540, $560, $550, $550, $550, $540, $560. Guess what? This thing's probably gonna sell for between $540 and $560. Even if we gave him a bonus, he might get $570 for it because Matt over-improved it. The buyer is going to get probably an extra $100,000 to $200,000 of upgrades for like 10 grand. Matt is the kind of person you want to buy a house from. And if I was building a dream house, I'd probably have Matt do it too. But for a rental property, Matt ain't going anywhere near my properties. Because my rentals all have hot attics, and I don't want to be guilted about my hot attics, okay?
By that chimney coming up. And look at this over here. We've got a ton of rot happening because that brick was soaking up the water every time it rained. It was to the sky. And then...
I get it. I get the justification. Let's remove the chimney because it's in the way and we're doing a remodel anyway. But let me put it this way. A little bit of corner rot right there behind the fascia isn't gonna hurt anybody. That rot is not a reason to tear down a chimney. Do not tear down chimney for a little bit of rot. Instead, when it's time to re-roof and you notice the rot, deal with the rot then. When it's time to replace the fascia boards because they're rotten, deal with the rot problem at that time. Do not replace chimney or remove chimney to solve problem. No.
We're gonna design an outdoor fireplace. I'll use like a firewalk unit or one of those.
I'm actually okay with that, honestly. I'm fine with the chimney disappearing and fireplace disappearing. That's okay.
I could do an outdoor fireplace. We can make some beautiful outdoor fires. We'll have a chimney to get rid of the smoke.
Oh, there's the chimney in the backyard, I just realized.
What do I do with these windows? Do I do any windows or I do Audi windows based on that exterior insulation and how thick?
You leave the windows, because they're fine.
Thick of exterior insulation.
I don't care about no innie or outie. It opens and closes, ain't good enough for me.
Do I want to do? Now I've got a brick ledge here and I'm going to be going back with some brick. So I need to figure out how thick do I make my insulation. This is getting ripped off and we'll have zip system sheathing here. This is getting ripped off and this will have zip system sheathing. I'm reconfiguring my window openings.
This house will see its first tenant in 2 years. At least we'll have videos to react to for a while.
I don't know if that is a dog urine or dog feces stain, but we're seeing a lot of stains upstairs in the plywood here.
That's it. Take all the plywood out and replace everything.
This is a 3/4 old school plywood. It's got a fair amount of squeaks. I have no idea why they did these cutouts in here, but it's fairly soft in these places. So I need to figure out what to do on the plywood. I think what I'm going to end up doing is rescrewing all this plywood and then skinning it again with some 3/4 Advantech.
I'm shocked he didn't say tear it all out and replace it. Like, that's great. Wow, I'm shocked because you could screw and glue and get rid of the squeak. Okay.
On top that I'll glue and screw or nail together so that this will...
No way! Oh my gosh! Oh, like, I could not have planned that better. I don't, just, like, whether you believe me or not, like, I don't watch these videos first. I try to purposely not watch them to give a sincere reaction. I feel good about myself now. Because, like, I feel like Matt and I, we just jived here. And, like, I don't know if he drinks, but I feel like that right there, like, that is like we could cheers over that. Like, wow. I feel good about myself.
But what do I do about dog stains? And I know I've got rat feces on top of these top cords of my 2x4. I think I'm actually going to come in here with a power washer maybe, power wash this interior out. It's no big deal for framing to get wet as long as it can dry, and we're all opened up, so even if it takes a week or two to dry out in here, it's no big deal.
Okay, now with the exception of taking a week or two and delaying everything for a week or two, that is an interesting idea. Although that stainage, honestly, I mean, I would probably not do that and rust out all of my screws. Honestly, the easiest thing with these stains is I'd probably just Clorox them, dry out the spots, sand them a little bit, and call it a day. But I'm not gonna go soak all of my electrical and outlets and wiring and screws.
I did want to do a flat roof, which was one of the initial proposals. I wanted to have a pitched roof, but I'm punching windows towards the front of the house to change the facade. And this roof pitch is too deep to really get a good window and get egress out of this space. And because these are trusses, and these trusses on the front here land onto a girder truss, see this triple ply truss? They typically call that a girder truss. So this truss is bearing front to back, and then those trusses, which are going over top of the garage header, are bearing here and on the front of the house. I'm going to basically have to rip this whole garage roof off and reframe it with traditional 2x10 rafters. And then I'm going to have to put a beam in there, so I'm going to talk to my engineer about...
My gosh, come on, Matt, it's fine.
My Geldwin window package, which should get here mid-December, January-ish.
Mid-December, January? Ah! Like, no, I need a tenant by January. Jeez, and you're only gonna get windows by then. I will have videos to react to for the next year. That is exciting. But see, this is exactly one of the problems that happens with the typical real estate investor. They get excited about this idea like, you know, it'd be so nice if in this room we had another window, AKA yet another freaking wall that now has another window, because all new construction seems to have windows every freaking where, and it's hard to actually use walls anymore. It's kind of like this room. It's like, how many windows do I need in one room? I don't know. It's like a new thing people do now. It's like more windows, more windows, more windows. And I get it. You know, windows are cool because after all, you can push a couple buttons and you can let all that beautiful sunlight in from the outside world and really experience life differently. Except when you're recording at 3 a.m. Light doesn't come in, you just get more reflections, which also aren't good for videos. So therefore, more windows suck. No, okay, realistically, look, the problem with having all of these ideas is you wanna add windows so you can have a view. Well, rather than having like a smaller window or, you know, a transom window, now you've turned this into a full-on re-engineering project, which is more time and a lot more money. Yikes.
January-ish, so we're not too far away from really starting on the project in earnest.
Are you kidding me? You bought this place in like September, bro. You telling me like 6 months of sitting around? Ah.
I started with a totally unrealistic budget, and it's funny that I couldn't see it myself. Been building for 25 years, and I just didn't see all the problems. Part of it was because I bought it from a wonderful neighbor who'd lived here forever. I bought it sight unseen, basically. I paid retail price for it, but we're going to do some serious changes to this house. And again, I'm gonna keep track of where I'm spending and how I'm spending. So to this point, really, I haven't had a whole lot of expenses except for the architect, trade ready to come in and do some of the demo, and what else have I had? Some dumpster costs. So we're probably about 20-ish thousand, maybe slightly more.
No. Do not try to justify that you've only had some minor expenses like the architect and the dumpster for 20 grand. Realize when you have a vacant property, you have to get what's called vacant homeowners insurance. Now, rather than spending $60 a month for like a landlord policy, you could be spending $300 to $400 a month for a vacant property insurance. And no, you can't just insure it as a rental property because they will come and see it vacant and they will deny you any coverages. If you don't have the proper coverage, this property could burn down and you could lose all of your investment in it. Bad idea. So vacant home policy is costing you like $400 a month. You paid like $4 something for this, so you're paying about $800 in property taxes because you guys got some high property taxes out there in Texas. This means you're at $1,200 in costs, and I'm not even at principal and interest yet. Let's say you financed $300,000 of this at an interest rate of, I'll give you 4.5% as a rental property, okay? $300,000, that means you're paying interest of an additional $1,125 per month. So now we're at $1,125 plus $1,200. Insurance, property taxes, and interest is costing you $2,325. You probably have a principal expense on top of this, and utilities and things like this and basics or whatever. But just by leaving this sitting around for the 6 months you pretty much already have, you realistically have an additional $14,000 of costs, taxes, insurance, and interest that you're not factoring into this. We just spent 20. No, you literally just spent about 33. You can see every single day a property is vacant, you are bleeding money. Take it from the minimalist landlord. Every day is money out of your pocket. There is no, let's sit around and wait for fancy frickin' windows.
And now we can, in effect, build a new house.
Yes! Yes! He said it! He said it! He said it! Because that is, in effect, what you're doing. That's a good still frame, too. That's probably what he thinks about me.
There's an old house in the way. And that's the thing about remodeling that's tough, is that there's an old house in the way.